Welcome to Let Me Catch You Up, the podcast where I explain reality TV to my husband.
And I ask a lot of questions.
I'm Liz, a longtime Bravo watcher who's been following Summer House for years.
And I'm Pat, a casual observer who's been in the room, sometimes paying attention.
Each week, we're recapping the latest episode of Summer House, breaking down the drama, the relationships, and everything you might have missed. Whether you've watched every episode,
or you're just trying to keep up.
We're here to catch you up. Let's get into it. All right, and we are back to talk about Summer House Season 10, Episode 5, Summer Nights. But nights is spelled like a knight in shining armor. Before we dive into the episode, just a little bit of a social media roundup from the week of different things I saw. There was some speculation about Amanda. She hung out with West in New York City during the snow day that happened like over a week ago.
All right.
Last Monday, and she posted a couple of different pictures, and her and West were like posting about how it was the best day ever. There's a video of her grabbing for like some guy's hand, and then I saw this whole breakdown video of how the guy's hand she was grabbing is one of the guys that West brought to the singles mixer in last week's episode. But I don't think Amanda is dating anyone. I think she's just flirting and having fun with people. So I just thought that was funny. So there was this whole just like analysis online.
A lot of internet sleuthing.
Yeah, a lot of internet sleuthing for no real reason. But also West posted that he has made breakfast casserole the last 2 seasons as well, but this is the first season it made it to the air, and he was like really pumped about it, and he posted the meme of Kamala calling Biden like, "We did it." And the last note I had was after last week's episode, Ben and Lindsay were on Watch What Happens Live. Not a ton of interesting takeaways. Ben and Lindsay both think Jesse was out of line last episode. Ben now has a girlfriend, and Andy also can't understand when Ben is saying Carl or Kyle, because last episode when Lindsay meets Ben at the singles mixer, he's talking about Kyle, and she's like, "Carl? Kyle? What are you saying?" Because he's like, "Kyle." That's how he says Kyle. And then he says Carl like, "Carl." So it sounds the same.
He's got to come up with a good nickname for one of them.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, those were my takeaways from the week. So let's dive into the episode. The episode kicks off. We get the date and time. So it's basically picking up where last week's episode left off. It's 1:13 p.m. on Saturday, July 19th, and they're getting ready for the Renaissance Festival themed party. Kyle is dressed in a costume that reminded me of Mr. Tumnus from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
I guess so. That's I'm pulling up a picture right now. I gotta get a good visual.
It's like a half man, half ram, half goat. Because Mr. Tumnus is like a fawn.
Right, okay.
So he might not be that.
I could see it.
Because Amanda is also a goat person, or just a goat. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what she's supposed to be, but I just saw this. She was like, I just realized it looks like I have a dick on my face.
Yeah. They show Jesse getting help with his costume from Ciara, and they intersperse it with West in bed sighing, and who knows if he was actually reacting to them, but it was funny. We see Ben. He reminded me of Vizzini from Princess Bride for some reason.
Where are you getting these references?
You know, the guy that says inconceivable?
Yeah, okay. I got it. I see it.
I mean, the look was very courtly gentleman. I don't really know what KJ's costume is. He seems to be some sort of horn player. He doesn't have a shirt. Later, Dara asks if he previously had a shirt, because we never see him wearing a shirt during the party. Lindsay is dressed as a queen. She comes down the stairs and she makes Carl bow. But then Carl is excited because he's like, we're friends a little bit now. So I think he's just happy they're getting along fine.
Yeah, because she made like another wisecrack, like, I don't give a shit what he thinks about me. But later in the episode, he makes another comment where he's like, I really just want to make sure it's not awkward for everybody else. So at first I thought it was kind of like a cringe comment or whatever, but then I was like, okay, I think he's just really wants things to be smooth.
Yeah. How were they gonna get married 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, I don't know. In retrospect, they seem so incompatible.
It's just crazy that 2 seasons ago we were deep in the midst of their drama, and now it's like I barely remember it. And then we have seen Ciara kind of getting ready, but we're not sure what she's gonna be. But I noticed she had this huge, like, hairy costume on her bed, and then it's revealed that she is a plague
Yeah,
rat.
that was a great costume.
Amazing. Is the bubonic plague really part of the Renaissance time frame? Because I thought the bubonic plague was what caused the start of the Renaissance, but we'll give it to her.
The thought was in it. The effort was there.
They're taking some
They're taking
liberties, but
liberties.
it's
Yeah.
worth it for the
Yeah.
payoff. So the party starts. We see some sword fighting. I think someone asks Jesse if the rat does it for him, and he jokes, like, yeah. Then my next note was that we see Lindsay and West chatting about what West and Jesse had been chatting about in the pool. So earlier when they were setting up for the party, Lindsay's like, what were you guys talking about? So West tells him, and then West is like, I don't really feel like it's my place to tell Ciara, though. And so Lindsay's like, is it my place to tell her?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she picked up on West's hint there.
Yeah, she picked up on West's hint, although later in the episode, he throws her under the bus when the guys are driving to the Hamptons the next
Mhm.
weekend and they're talking about, oh, Sierra's upset with Jesse. West makes him comment, like, yeah, of course, Lindsay told her. I'm like, West, you wanted
Right. You
Lindsay to
basically
tell her.
begged her to tell.
Yeah. So we see the party has a magician, which I thought was a nice touch. And then we see Amanda eating grass, which is funny because she's like a goat or whatever. But I laughed a lot because Kyle's like, oh, I'm so attracted to her right now when she's eating grass. She can be
Yeah.
fun. And he's like, oh, we're going to turn this summer around. So my general takeaway from the party looks like a lot of fun, but my biggest issue was a lot of the outfits looked really sweaty. I mean, it's the summer in the Hamptons. We've got Ciara in a full rat suit. We've got Ben wearing tights and like a heavy long sleeve get up. I didn't talk about Wes, but Wes is dressed as a knight and he's got a long sleeve thing going on. I guess, I mean, if we're talking about the times, all of those outfits had long sleeves, but I don't know. I was just worried about, I was like, what is the air temperature? That's all I could think about. Because KJ's like, oh, I don't have a shirt on because it's so hot.
Right.
But I'm impressed by everybody's commitment.
Yeah.
At the party, West and Ben are chatting and eating corn. Ben is interested in Dara from the singles mixer. We see that they talked a little bit while at the party. Ben talked about how he's a model and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's a good job. It's the only job you get clapping at the end
Right.
of the day." And then Ben is embarrassed about the party. I don't know why he was so
Like just
embarrassed.
all the attention or whatever.
I guess, yeah. We see a little more from Dara that her and Wes dated for about 6 months, but she's like he couldn't commit and she wasn't interested in training him. She's also not interested in pursuing anything with him now. Says he's great, the greatest guy unless you're falling for him. So it seems like he has a little bit of a pattern
Hmm.
maybe in his relationships from the small sample size we've seen. Then we see Dara and KJ flirting a little bit, but KJ doesn't recognize Dara at first from meeting her
Yeah.
a couple days before.
It ended up being cute, but I was like worried for him.
Yeah, same. Then we see the conversation with the girls. So Lindsay goes to Ciara and is like, I'm sorry I have to tell you, but, Jesse asked West if he could make out with you. Ciara's like, what? And Mia's like, he's got some nerve. So Amanda's like, was this a joke or is Jesse serious? Lindsay's like, he was serious about asking, but the makeout would be a joking makeout. And Ciara's just like, I need a minute. And she's like, why is Jesse asking West's permission? I'm the only person that can give him permission, which, yeah, duh. And then she's like, if it's serious enough for him to ask for permission, why isn't he like asking me on a date? Like, if he really is interested in me, why is he doing this whole rigmarole with the guys? And then she's also annoyed that West's response was that he doesn't care. But I don't know if that was a fair characterization that he doesn't care. I felt like that was a little bit unfair to West. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. We've seen that he's into Sierra, and I think he's kind of downplaying it when he says like, "Oh, I don't care if Jesse says that." That's not true. Like he definitely cares. I think that's pretty obvious. I think Jesse put West into a very tough position. It really all comes down to Jesse. This is his issue that he kind of created for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, my main thing is I agree with everything the girls are saying. Like, if Jesse has feelings for Sierra, he should talk to her about it.
Oh,
Why
100%.
is he
Yeah.
asking? I mean, I understand in general, like, it's a strange dynamic because Wes is his good friend, but the whole way he approached it was just
Yeah.
really Not smart. Because if Ciara doesn't like him, why would he, like, he should find out if she likes him too first,
Yeah.
because there's no point in telling West if nothing's gonna happen anyway.
Right.
So after the girls chat, Amanda mentions, like, I'm gonna go change into my chainmail. So I'm thinking, I was picturing, chainmail under a knight's armor, but we learned that it's a chainmail bikini, which I should have known, but that was great. And it looked like Ciara had one too. Then we see Amanda talking to Bailey about helping her practice flirting. So we aren't the only ones that noticed she's not very good at it. And Amanda's like, "Oh, why don't you go flirt with one of the actors to practice?" And Bailey's like, they show the actors sword fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, "I would rather it not be one of the swordsmen who LARP for a living," which was hilarious.
Yeah, that was good. And the magician.
Yeah, Amanda's like, "Oh, what about the magician?" magician who's quite a bit older
Yeah.
than Bailey. So then Bailey is like, "Oh, Wes is coming over here. I'm going to try to flirt with him." And she's like, "Oh, this is the hottest you've ever looked. Does my popcorn taste good?" He's like, "Is that an innuendo?"
I don't think
I
she
was
was.
uncomfortable.
I don't think she was actually trying to hit on, but it was a good scene.
But Bailey, we know that we see that Bailey knows she's uncomfortable and awkward in these situations, so she's self-aware. We see more with Dara, and Ben and KJ are kind of competing a little bit for Dara's attention and think she's really pretty. And then we see Carl chatting. I just thought this was a little fun nugget. He's like, "Oh, I really like your Beyonce shirt." And they're like, "Yeah, do you get it?" And they're like, "The Renaissance tour."
And then he like tries to hit himself with his turkey leg or whatever.
Like, I should have known. Then we move to the jousting competition. Lindsay calls Jesse and West up, and they're like, "Oh, it's idiot versus idiot." Carl had another good one-liner because they have like these inflatable jousting swords that come as a part of the costume, and he's like, "They need some Cialis for their swords," because I guess they were drooping.
Yeah.
So then we kind of just see this little montage of them fake jousting, wrestling. I think West wins technically, and then Jesse kisses West. And West is like, "He didn't ask for permission." And then we immediately cut to Ciara getting upset, and she starts crying and she runs upstairs and Mia goes with her.
Bad form.
Yeah. We get the scene with Ciara and Mia, and Ciara is talking about why she's upset. She feels like everybody just wants to experience her. She's looking for a best friend, someone that she can tell everything to, someone that wants to protect her. She doesn't want a surface level hookup or relationship. She says she's more traditional than the average girl, and Jesse knows that about her. So, like, does Jesse only see her in the light of like a good time girl? Because that's not the vibe she gives off. So she's just kind of confused and hurt. And then Mia is a good supportive friend and starts getting emotional. And she's like, "Bitch, I'm on my period."
Earlier in the show, Mia was like, "All right, but I'm gonna have the stankiest face all day long."
Yeah. Ciara was like, "Fix your face, girl." So then we see a time check. It's 8:48 p.m. After the Ciara and Mia chat, we see a little bit more of the party. They talk about Ben's tights and say he's a ballerina. Lindsay FaceTimes Gemma, and we see a little bit more between Ben and Dara flirting. And I think Ben is in the stocks, but Dara calls it a guillotine.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. KJ also talks about how he doesn't know how to flirt.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that Bailey and KJ both talk about how they're not good at flirting. I don't think KJ's as bad as he thinks. I think it works. I do think Bailey is actually as bad as she thinks, though.
Yeah, agreed. And Wes tells people to stop throwing hay because he has to vacuum it. Okay, so then Mia tells everybody to leave, and then they show us it's 8:48 p.m. And then people are kind of just like hanging out in the house after, and we see a little more of KJ and Dara chatting, and he asks her about her hobbies, and she talks about reading and going to the movies alone. So KJ asks her to like go to the movies or go on a date, and KJ also asks Jesse, "Hey, have you seen Ciara? Is she okay?" And Jesse's just like, "Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen her." And then we see Ben also flirting with Dara a bit more, and they're hanging out a little bit. And Bailey calls Levi. I guess Levi's not there. I feel bad, but I didn't notice until Bailey calls her. They don't really explain it, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think they ever said why.
Yeah, unless they said it last episode, and I don't remember.
I don't remember.
So then they show us it's like 12:36 a.m. And for a second, I was like, "Oh my God, are they going out right now?" Because Dara's leaving with her suitcase, But they also, it's like Kyle, Ben, and West at least seem like they're outside. I don't know, maybe they were just saying bye to Dara, but then it seems like nobody actually went out because they just show people going to bed later after that. And I think Jesse walks by Ciara's door and he's like, "Love you." And Ciara's like, "God, that's so creepy."
I just feel like with him in general, it's like when things are good, he's like annoyingly happy. When things are not going great, then like he's kind of like annoyingly mopey and sad. Like he kind of swings the pendulum a little bit too much, I think.
Yeah. So the next morning is Sunday, July 20th, and it's 9:34 a.m. and we see the aftermath of the party. We see turkey legs in the yard with flies on them. It's gross.
Yeah, it was a big mess. I feel like that was one of the messier parties, and it didn't even seem like they were going that crazy or that late or anything.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of setup. We see Wes go for a swim. They start cleaning up. And then I think this is when Jesse realizes Sierra's mad at him because Sierra's cleaning up and Jesse asks her if she has plans this week. And I think she starts saying, like, well, I'm getting some furniture delivered. I don't know. But Jesse can tell she's upset. And he's like, oh, I always mess up.
But he never asks her like why she's upset or anything. Like it's not until the guys tell him later on.
He does seem pretty clueless
Yeah.
because he obviously knows he messed up, but should have been smarter not to do that.
Yeah.
So we see the next time check, it's 11:20 a.m. Everybody's packing up. Lindsay's leaving, and Carl says to, I think, KJ, how crazy it was that he used to co-own the car she's driving and how he paid for half of it. But he's like, it couldn't have gone better with Lindsay, and he didn't want it to be awkward. So kind
Yep.
of what we were talking about in the beginning.
Right. Yeah, he's just very relieved that it's going smoothly.
Yeah. My only other note was from this scene, besides Ciara coldly saying bye to Jesse, was that we see Ben. He's wearing his bucket hat and he has a neck pillow on with his suitcase, like he's going to the airport or something. He's ready for his red eye flight.
Yeah, I don't know. The neck pillow seems excessive for that long of a drive, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's going somewhere else.
Maybe he's just tired.
Yeah, who knows?
He's ready to sleep in the car. So then we're back in the city. Monday, it's your moment. They show us a golf simulator with Wes and Kyle. Were you excited?
Yeah, I was definitely excited. I perked up for the golf sim. Um, I did lose a little bit of respect for West though. That swing was tough to watch. I had higher hopes for him because he's like an athlete and everything.
I mean, he played football in college. I don't know about his golf skills.
Yeah, I'm sure he's better at football.
What about Kyle's swing?
He was okay. He made contact at least. I like the transition to Lindsay because then they're like, get in the hole or whatever. And I was like, oh, is she golfing also? But she's baby proofing the house.
Yeah, those outlet covers are annoying.
She had some fancy ones though. I've never seen those.
Yeah. I've seen the ones that have a little gripper thing on that makes it easier to at least pull it out of the wall. But yeah, I don't know what she had. So the next scene, I guess it's still Tuesday, or at least they don't tell us if it's not, but KJ and Dara meet at a bar for a drink. And it was kind of funny because KJ gets there and he orders a Guinness and two waters. And then she gets there and she's like, wait, you ordered a drink without me? So then they switched to spritzes, which I thought was a better choice for summer in the city.
I love Guinness, but he was actually double fisting them. I don't know if you noticed. They showed both at the same time on the
Yeah,
table.
I noticed that later.
Was that a faux pas? Because she was kind of like jokingly upset. Like, oh, you already got a drink. And I was like, oh, what would be the right move there? Should he not have ordered that?
Well, I was thinking about that too. So if he didn't know how much longer it would be till she got there,
Yeah.
I could understand, like, oh, I don't want to wait. I want to have a drink, but I don't know what she wants. And he did say when she got there, oh, I was just about to text you. So maybe he was about to text and ask her.
Yeah.
We'll assume that.
Yeah.
We learned that they've been texting and FaceTiming since last weekend, which it's only been like 2 days. So that's funny.
Yeah.
And KJ talks to her about how he was sad when he saw Ben pursuing her and realized he actually likes her. And then and Dara's like, yeah, Ben's cool, but I don't like him. And he's like, what? You don't? He's a model. And then Dara's like, aren't you also a model? And then Dara's like, yeah, there wasn't a lot of chemistry with Ben. And KJ's like, wait, you did feel chemistry with us? And she's like, yes. So back to your comment, like, I think KJ's a little better at flirting than he thinks he is.
Yeah. She did talk to Ben a lot, but like looking back on it, it wasn't the same kind of vibe that she had with KJ. I think she was like a lot more open and flirty with him. So I think she was kind of being friendly with Ben, seeing if there was any chemistry there, but she was actually kind of going after KJ from the start, which is hilarious because he didn't even recognize her. So
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think I agree. And I think, I mean, when they showed Ben and her flirting, or Ben's like, "You haven't texted me yet?" And she's kind of like, "What?" Like he seemed like he was interested, but I wasn't sure if she was actually interested.
yeah.
Next, we see Carl working on Soft Bar, and it's under construction. And he's like, "The stair looks so good." And there's a little bit of a landing. And he's like, "We could put a DJ up there." It's like, you guys can't stop talking about DJs.
They love DJs, yeah.
He knows one, so
Right. I like the hard hat Carl.
yeah, hard hat Carl. Construction Carl.
Construction Carl.
Gotta have an alliteration.
Yeah.
So, a couple of flashbacks. Carl's talking about last summer how he had just signed this lease that's $10,000 a month. And then they flash back 2 seasons where he kind of started talking about his idea with Lindsay to start a non alcoholic bar. She was skeptical of the time of anything brick and mortar. But Ben comes to see it, and my first note was, why does Ben look so much cooler in the hard hat than Carl does?
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I was like, okay, he actually looks like he's, fitting the part or whatever, and Carl he just looks so goofy.
But yeah, so Ben and Carl chat, and we learn it's about 5 weeks till they're targeting to open, which seemed aggressive. There was construction going on, but having gone through a kitchen renovation, personally, I would put it more than 5 weeks, but hopefully it works out. But we learn that Carl needs to be at the bar the upcoming weekend to make sure things kind of continue to move forward. So he's not going to be in the summer house next weekend. And then they talk a little bit about investors, and Ben is like, "Oh, did Kyle get in on it?" And then we learn that Carl had invested about $15,000 in Loverboy in 2019, and he was hoping a little bit that Kyle would be interested in doing something similar, which was not reciprocated. So he was disappointed by that, and seems a little bit awkward.
I thought that was tough. I know Kyle has like some struggles going on with Loverboy, and he talked about putting so much of his own money into it. But yeah, that was kind of like sad to hear Carl say that almost because he was like, I put 15,000 into Loverboy. I thought he would do the same thing for me, but he didn't. And he
Yeah.
was listing all the people who did invest, and it was like Jesse, and I was like,
Yeah.
so Jesse invested, but Kyle can't just return what Carl already put into Loverboy. So who knows?
Yeah, maybe it was just bad timing. Yeah, he had to start DJing to pay for Loverboy, so he didn't have any extra money to invest in
Yeah,
Soft Bar.
yeah.
But yeah, he does list off like everybody and their mom invested except Kyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we skip ahead to Friday, July 25th. It's 4:20 p.m. and we see the boys' car with West, KJ, Jesse, and Ben. West says he got a text from his friend Reagan, who works at the bar that I guess KJ and Dara went to, that KJ was there on a date. So they all kind of just talk about how the date went, and we learn that the date went well. But then they saw each other again the next night and like had dinner together. It sounds like KJ's kind of diving right in, which is cute. I mean, it seems like he really likes her. And then KJ was a little bit worried about how Ben would feel about it, but Ben's happy for KJ. It wasn't that deep, so it's
Yeah.
good.
I think he was a little bit, I don't want to say sad about it, but, he was like, yeah, I was interested in her or whatever, but, I'm happy for you. While he was disappointed, he was like okay with his friend being happy at least. So,
Yeah. KJ also says he got coffee with Ciara while back in the city, and he's like, I guess she got word what you said, Jesse, to West. And West goes, because of Lindsay, which was what I was mentioning earlier, that, like you said, he was practically begging Lindsay to say something to Ciara.
yeah.
So next, we transition to Billy and Levi are going to prank the people as they come in the house. So we see them park on the street, not in the driveway, so it looks like nobody's there yet. But they also look like they park like right in front of the driveway on the road, which didn't seem that inconspicuous to me.
Yeah, I didn't notice. Yeah. They're not paying attention.
You're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah, we learn they're going to dress up as plants and like sit in a pot and then jump out at people as they walk in the house.
That's great.
And as they're kind of getting ready for their prank, and the first car pulls up, it's pouring rain. So people kind of come out in bursts. So Amanda is like the first one to come in and she's like screaming, and Bailey jumps out and scares her and she gets pretty scared. But like Kyle and Mia haven't come in yet and they, I guess, didn't see Amanda react. So then they're able to. It's a pretty good montage because they get to do it like 5 times
Right.
to different people.
Yeah, I like that part.
And I felt so bad for Ciara.
Oh man, she bit it
She
hard.
falls in the rain getting out of the car.
Yeah.
She immediately sees them though. She's like, "What is that?"
Right. She's like, what is that? Nobody else even like noticed it. Like nobody else looked at it and said that looks weird. People just kept on
Yeah,
walking right by it as if it wasn't there.
right. But yeah, the boys' car comes and Bailey and Levi get back in position, and Wes gets like really scared.
He like
It's
runs
pretty
back
funny.
out
He
of the
just like
house.
walks out of the
Yeah,
house.
that was good.
I heard you when you were watching. I think it was this part
Yeah, it
because
was
you were
that.
like audibly reacting.
Yeah,
Was it when Ciara fell?
it was. Oh yeah, when Ciara fell, I kind of made like oh like kind of noise. Yeah, it looked like it hurt, but she popped right back up.
Yeah, I know. I was worried about her. So everybody's, has arrived. Everybody's saying hello. We learn it's Amanda's birthday. Everybody's wishing her happy birthday. And then it's just awkward because Ciara is not having it with Jesse. And Jesse's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And then he asks if they can talk before dinner. Randomly, we now get a time update at 6:08 p.m. West and Ben go outside. And West is like, "Oh, I love the rain." Ben's like, "You're a big storm guy, huh?"
I like storms too. I can appreciate that scene.
Yeah, I agree. I love watching thunderstorms in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Wes says it's terrifying when Ciara is mad at you.
Yeah. But yeah, again, West pretending like he's not involved in this whole thing or whatever, and like, oh yeah, sorry for Jesse, like she's mad at him or whatever, but like he definitely started this whole chain with Lindsay and everything. So
Yeah. So we see Jesse and Ciara go to chat, and Jesse starts it off. And he's like, "The boys are telling me that I said, 'Would you be upset if I made out with Ciara?' And they said that made you feel a certain type of way. And I feel bad that it made you feel that way. I didn't mean anything by it. I felt like we were getting flirty. And I wanted to clear it from Wes' perspective and our friendship. If that was ever something that I was going to pursue, like how he felt about it." And Ciara's like, "But you didn't mean anything by it?" And Jesse says, "I didn't know what my intention was. I didn't know where your head was at. I just thought it was the right order of operations. Like, check with your guy friend. If he's still hung up on you, I wouldn't even think about it." Which, side note, is not what he said last week. He was like, "Even if you cared, I would have do it anyway."
right, right.
So then Ciara says, "Well, it's weird you're clearing it up with Wes before even talking to me about it. It made me feel like I'm a sexual conquest and now it's your turn."
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think all of her points were correct. I think Jesse had some opportunities to course correct the situation and be like, "Look, that's what I said, but what I actually meant was," and he kind of just kept digging his hole deeper and stuff. But she was 100% correct. Number one, if you were to ask permission, it should be about dating me or whatever, not making out with me. Like what is that? Like that's you're asking for permission to make out with somebody, and then obviously you should be talking to me
Yeah.
first. So
Right, exactly. Yeah, and Jesse, I mean, continuing their conversation, Jesse's like, "I don't think about you as just a sexual conquest." And Ciara says, "But hearing that, it's how it made me feel." Then she's like, he's hiding behind a joke again. And Ciara's like, "It would be just a joke." And Jesse is like stumbling. She's like, did you or did you not say it would just be a joke?" And he's like kind of just like stumbling his words. And then Ciara's like, "I don't know. Like obviously we've crossed too many lines. We're kind of things are a bit blurred. I love you as a friend, but I'm upset because why is it that Ciara can express she wants a boyfriend and she wants to be in a relationship, wants to have friendship, marriage, kids, and Jesse is like pitching this as a joke. If he was really interested in her, he could ask her permission to take her on a date, not just to make out with her." And she's like, "Do you see where I'm coming from?" And Jesse's like, "I'm sorry, it made you feel like an object." And Ciara, I think this is more in her confessional. She's like, this is partially like Jesse's issue, but it's also partially her issue because it plays on an insecurity she has in her head that people don't want anything serious with her. So that kind of wraps up their conversation. The other thought I had that I thought was kind of weird with Jesse's behavior, he was just hyping West up like 2 episodes earlier about how Ciara and West are getting along and like, "Oh, you guys are friends again. Oh, that's great." And then he's like immediately like, "Would you care if I made out with her, bro?" Just strange behavior.
yeah. for sure.
But I feel like Ciara did a really good job summing it up, and there's not much else to say.
Right.
So then we see the scenes for next week, and I think first they show a scene probably from dinner for Amanda's birthday, talking about how I think Ben is just talking about how she can walk into a room and light it up with her smile, and then Bailey makes some offhanded comment like, "Oh, Ben really wants to sleep with her." So then we see a little drama between Bailey and Ben because Ben like confronts her about it, like that wasn't funny, and I think Bailey gets upset. And then we see a conversation with West. He says he misses Ciara, but he doesn't know what to do. And I was just thinking, like, I ship them, but I only want it to be if West is actually serious about dating her. If he's not, then he can just like move along.
Yeah. I would be surprised if he doesn't at least talk to her about that at some point this season. Like if he feels this way and then the whole season goes by and he doesn't even like bring it up to her directly, then I would be kind of surprised.
Yeah, I agree. Like if he feels that way, he should say something, but I guess I only want him to say something if he's serious about pursuing a relationship with Ciara. If not, then he should just keep it to himself.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed.
All right. So that kind of wraps up our recap, but did you have an MVP of the episode?
This was tough. I had like five different candidates for this episode. I broke the rules a little bit. I ended up going with a duo, and I went with KJ and Dara. I just thought it was cute how she was like, "Oh, you don't like recognize me and stuff," and then they ended up like going on a couple dates and stuff like that and everything. So I don't know. I had a couple other honorable mentions, but I'll save those. But I had a hard time choosing because there's so many different funny moments, and then there was like cuter moments. It was tough to choose. Who'd you go with?
Yeah, KJ was one of my candidates, but I ultimately picked Ciara.
Yeah.
I think partially because, she continued to deliver on her costume game with the rat costume
Yep.
for the party and had a lot of fun. And then she was super vulnerable in the episode talking about, the situation with Jesse and why it affected her. So
Yeah.
I picked Ciara.
I almost picked Sierra for the fall alone. Like I just felt bad for her for falling. So
Yeah. My honorable mention went to like Bailey and Levi together for their
yeah.
prank alone.
Yeah. That was another one I was considering. Yeah. It was hard. I like the new romance. It kind of brought a new vibe to the show. So
And how many sandwiches would you give this episode?
I think this is my favorite episode so far. I went 4.25. So there was a party, even if it was a Carl planned Renaissance Fair party.
Yeah, I feel bad I was ragging on him, but I gotta hand it to him. It looked like a good party.
Yeah, it was a good party. But yeah, so we have the party, we got the kind of new relationship forming. There weren't any Kyle and Amanda fights, and yeah, and then there was the prank and everything. So I thought this is a pretty good episode. So 4.25.
Nice. Yeah, I also like this episode. Agreed. Bonus points alone for no Kyle and Amanda fights. I did like the variety of the party, and then I liked that we had a little bit of scenes in the city with the KJ and Dara date, and we're getting a couple different storylines developing. I gave it 4 sandwiches out of 5, same as last week, with like a couple Cape Cod chips on the side.
4 plus.
Not a full 4.25, but
Yeah.
I did not have any major red flags in this episode. What about you?
Yeah, when the whole entire party is like yelling, kiss, kiss, kiss. I thought that was random that the entire party is coincidentally cheering for them to kiss. There's this whole background fight about making out going on. And then the fact that West says he didn't ask for permission. He should know better not to make that joke when, again, there's that whole fight going on and everything. So,
That's true. I mean, the whole party wouldn't know about that background, but Wes certainly knew.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's mainly all I got, though.
I just think Wes shouldn't blame Lindsay for telling Ciara. Like, he doesn't want to be blamed for being the one that went to Ciara,
Right. Yeah,
essentially.
100%. I thought it was just maneuvering in the background a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I think that wraps up episode 5. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and leave us a rating and review.
And if you have questions you want answered this season,
Send them our way because chances are Pat's wondering the same thing.